This was a good one. All right, welcome to Salt Lake City, and very snowy Salt Lake City. This is like the first time it's properly snowed. Yeah, but welcome to kind of my reflections video for the Salt Lake City World Cup. This was my first time making finals at a World Cup, and I thought I'd just sit down. I'm gonna play the replay of the whole event just on the TV, and I'll pan to that every now and then to give you guys some reference for what I'm talking about. So I thought it'd be a cool opportunity to kind of just have a candid conversation and point out what I think I could have done better and what I thought I did well. And I could do this really for like every event and every round, but I thought the finals would be an interesting one to kind of go over just because it was such a new experience for me, and I think there's a lot to learn. Just for some context, it's about a week before US Nationals. All the World Cups are done, so figured it'd be a great time to kind of look back on the big World Cups of the season and see what we can take into Nationals. Boom! Okay, we're doing it. I'm just gonna watch the replay on my computer here and then can just take some little phone footy and get more into it for the kind of specifics of each boulder and everything. Just for a little context, the Salt Lake City Bouldering World Cup this year, well, there were two, but they were the second and third, no, they were the third and fourth, excuse me, World Cups of the year. Myringen and Seoul were before that. And at both of those events, I felt good, but I don't think really I took the time to like center myself enough ahead of the comp, and I felt like a little cluttered still, if that makes sense. And especially before Seoul, like I was traveling a ton and had done like another like deep water soloing comp, which is actually a really fun video that I'll put up in the corner, I guess over there. After the Seoul Bouldering World Cup, where I did pretty poorly and just made a lot of mistakes and didn't feel like myself, I really went out of my way to have as many intentional practices as I could before the Salt Lake City World Cups. For me, what that meant was every time I pulled on the wall, I had like visualized the climb. I knew what I was gonna do. I was properly warmed up, so I wasn't like asking my body to do anything it wasn't prepared to do. I really set myself up for success every time I pulled on the wall, and ultimately it felt like it was so good for building confidence and just being in tune with my body, because for the like 20 sessions, give or take, before the Salt Lake City World Cup, every time I pulled on the wall, I was just executing close to like the best I could, you know? So having that like library and database of really hard climbing that you're doing really well really made a difference in being able to execute on the boulders at the World Cup. Another thing that really helped before the Salt Lake City World Cup was keeping a performance journal. So after every one of those sessions, I would write down everything I did basically, and it just helped to reinforce all of the climbing that I was doing. And because the climbing was all really good, I had like this 2-week database of really hard, risky climbing that I was executing well on. And then you show up to the World Cup and you're like, oh, like this is just what I've been doing. Like every time I pulled onto the wall for the last couple of weeks, I've just been climbing how I want to climb and climbing like myself. So why not just keep doing that at the World Cup? And it was really nice to have like, ISO for the World Cup was at the US Training Center, so I was pretty familiar with that space, and that made it easier to focus on my routine. And I'll say, in addition to the journaling, the other biggest tip or thing that helped me was meditating. For me, what I found the most helpful is just going outside, sitting by a river or just out in nature somewhere, or even just on the deck, like where I just shot the intro, and just for 10 minutes kind of sitting in a comfortable position with good posture, laying down, and just letting your thoughts kind of settle and taking notice of just everything you're thinking about, whether that is like excitement or nervousness or anything you're feeling ahead of the comp. And for me, any nervousness or fear ahead of the comp really was just stemming from a lot of excitement for a really cool event that I wanted to perform at. But by letting everything settle down, I realized that there wasn't necessarily a reason to be nervous or to put any more pressure on it than another session. Like, it's just another opportunity to climb, and ultimately it's just another set of boulders. Let's get into it. Super quick before getting into the video, I want to give a huge shout out to Rhino Skin. I've literally used Rhino Skin on average probably like every other day for the last like 2 years. And they've been super generous to sponsor today's video, and we're gonna do a giveaway to give away one of their skin abuse specialist packs, which includes like all their products and a really cool case and a like nail clippers file and some other fun goodies. So to enter that, all you have to do is follow us both on Instagram. Those links are in the description, and then comment on this video what solution you are most psyched to try. They easily make the best skin solution products on the market. If you haven't heard of them, your skin is probably suffering. You're just dry firing off holds left and right, or wet firing, or you have no skin. It must be rough. But in all seriousness, they make some really great stuff. I use the Repair, Performance, and Dry the most often. The Repair is great for just healing up skin, and then once I have a good base, I'll use the Performance. And this is really helpful for getting pretty hard skin. Like if I use this like twice a week, I'll have like pretty solid skin. And I just put a little dollop on like that, rub it in like so, make sure I like rub it into my tips a lot. And then the dry spray is really helpful for getting like super hard skin. So I have a competition, like usually 3 days before, I'll use that, as well as before like climbing outside if I really just want some bullet skin. So those have all been essential for competing, as well as just being able to train longer and harder, especially with all the new fiberglass coming out. You really need good skin for that. Yeah, they have so many other products like the Split and the Spit and some other new ones. You can check out on their website. You can use the code RSSROSS on their website for 10% off everything. So yeah, give them some love. Go check out everything they're doing. Yeah, seriously a game changer having like dry, hard skin. Okay, back to actual video. Salt Lake City finals, play.
They are rooting for him.
Let's just skip to the first boulder. Okay, so the first boulder was really cool, and in preview I was like, oh my god, this is totally my style and something I think I can do well on. And in general, I think I'm a pretty well-rounded climber. Ray and Sean both did it before me, so I was the third out of the 6 climbers in finals, and knew it was possible. This first attempt here, I just completely missed it, and it was a little cluttered still. I think just the excitement and like emotions of making finals was so draining in the best way possible. So going into finals, I definitely had more of a mindset of just enjoying the experience and trying to make the most of it. I think I could have been a bit more intentional and like gone for the win. I was more just climbing to enjoy finals, if that makes sense. Okay, so for the second attempt, the generation was a little off there. And then on this third go, I just kind of commit and let my intuition take over. Yeah, I definitely could have done a bit more to compress with that left hand. And then this move, I just fully missed, like was not even close, to be honest. And that's something where like visualizing even in more detail would have helped. Picking a point on the volume to know where I want that right hand, because as I was swinging, I didn't really know exactly where that right hand is, and it's dual text, so you really need to know exactly where you're grabbing it. So I could have done a little bit better job at that. And then the last couple attempts, I was kind of just all over the place. I was feeling just like heavy on the wall, you know, when you've climbed a lot and you don't have like that snappiness. But needless to say, my one like big reflection from this is to, once you know the move, give yourself the rest and kind of regroup so you can give a couple really high quality attempts. And I think I was still a little bit frantic. I do that a little bit here. Take a deep breath like that, and then pop, 3-finger drag style. Oh. Honestly, I think I jumped too much there. I'm still not on the hold, and I like readjust mid-fall. My body was still just way too far out from the wall. Like, need to throw myself into the wall there, make time over the foot. You can see like as I hit it, my body's already like falling so far out that it's just gonna put way more force on there. So yeah, lots to learn from that boulder, and I kind of knew in the moment that I wasn't fully flowing. Like the sensations on the first two boulders were so different than like the semifinals round where it was just fully in it. Pretty similar takeaways on this men's two. The setters did such a great job with this one. Yeah, so you start here, then you have this right hand, and then jump to this slot thing, which is really accurate. And going into that boulder, I wasn't really sure how I was going to grab this thing, like whether it was going to be a hand jam or just like down pull on it. Even when you're sequencing and you have a preview, you don't always know what you're going to do, and that's why like kind of leaving your options a little bit open and having like a good like A and B plan is really helpful. I could have trusted my gut a bit more on that one. Those first attempts, my right hand just dry fired, and for some reason I thought I needed more grip on this left hand, but I think ultimately it would have been better to try just to do that move a bit slower and not swing quite as much on this right hand. It kept like dry firing, and it just like made me hesitate. So I was like, well, what are you gonna change? But you don't always need to change something. So the last couple attempts I tried like the hand jam and couldn't quite find it. Like Kokoro 2 on this move flips that right hand as he goes to just help control his leftward momentum, and for some reason I didn't think of that in the moment. If you guys haven't watched finals, you should check it out. I don't want to poach too much footage, so I'm not going to show everyone else on it. Something I've learned and actually mentioned in the last couple of videos I posted is to look at how you're falling off the wall to figure out like how to generate better. And at least I don't really remember like working backwards like that in the moment at the comp, but I think if I had, I would have realized like I'm spinning off to the right, so I need to pay more attention to kind of my right hand and how much I'm generating, because I was pulling too much off this hand, because this hand like actually feels pretty good when you're below it, but then the second you get to the left of it, it was a Gaston, so it's kind of like face to the side and you just start to fall off. So had I kind of slowed down and been a bit more deliberate with like visualizing that move, I think I would have realized I needed to jump less and then find some sort of opposition with the right hand. It's hard to notice those little things in the moment, and you start thinking like too much almost, and you need to just like slow it down, and that's where like breathing is a big thing. I will say that was one thing I was really proud of. Like slowing my heart rate down really helped to kind of clear my head and stay present, focused on the climbing at hand. And then before some of the harder boulders, like as you're walking out, do a couple breaths that were really intense, like big, like really energetic breaths, slaps on like the legs, some shoulders, just to get that activation going. Then right before getting on the wall, I do one more like centering breath, big smile, and then hop on the wall. And then while climbing, I was just like screaming like a madman. Especially in semifinals, I was just like every move. And for me, that helps just like fully lock in the movements that I'm doing. Yeah, after those first two boulders in finals, I was definitely a little bummed. I was like, damn, like I know I could have climbed better, and I know I could have done them both, but then really quickly you have to learn how to kind of let those emotions or those like shoulda, woulda, coulda thoughts go, and then focus on what you can do on the next ones. Like there's no point in carrying any of that negative energy into the next boulders. That's where really slowing your breath down and recentering helps me to focus on the boulders in front of me. Going into the slab boulder, I felt really confident still, and it looked like such a cool boulder to execute on, and yeah, I felt like I was in a good headspace. Okay, third boulder, pretty mega slab. We've got these huge dual tech squadro holds. And for this first move, you gotta go up, get the toe catch, and then hop over. One thing I like doing in my warm-up is kind of doing unnecessarily hard like little jumps and like coordination things, and that helps me like kind of get locked into like that flow state. And on the first move of this, or the hop over move that I just showed, this little hop right here, that's definitely more risky and harder than kind of doing it slowly. Not harder, but it's more risky. But if you can execute that in the moment, then it helps me like feel really confident and locked in for the next moves. So I kind of liked doing little tips like that. And then I could almost reach it and just not quite. So then went to plan B, which was to jump, and I needed to loosen up. Like here would have been a great place to slow down a little bit. Like to me it seems like I'm rushing this move, and that's why I'm like leaning really far over this foot, which is like non-existent. There's no jib or anything, so that's why that foot slips. But like right here, that foot slips, and in reality, like to generate to get here, you need to fall out a little bit and then go in one motion. And that's what I end up doing the second attempt. Especially while you're on the climb, it's really difficult to slow down and like take that third person view and be like, okay, like reset, what's the best way to do this move, and not get too sucked into just like touching the next holds or getting ahead of yourself. Second attempt, take a couple seconds to recompose. I know I can do the moves, and now it's just about executing. So I run the clock down. Now I have 2 minutes and 25 seconds. It's only my second attempt. Yeah, I could be trying them more, but on this boulder I knew I could do it, and I wanted to be extra clear for that last jump move because it's pretty technical. Okay, so boom, hop the foot over again, match, go out. These moves were not too bad, to be honest. Like I was pretty confident I could get up to that last move again. And then this time I had like no hesitation about what I was doing. I'm like, I'm not gonna try and reach it, even though I probably could have done it that way. I'm like, I want to do it the coordination way. Boom. And that time I don't put the foot on, and kind of like I just said before, like you have to go out and to the left in order to generate to go right, because you don't have much of a push foot. So yeah, I was pretty psyched to execute on this one and get the top match and everything. I was a cool moment for sure, and the crowd they started like a Ross chant, which was wild, and I didn't even notice it in the moment because I was so like locked in on the climb, but watching the videos back, that was pretty cool. One thing I started doing actually at team trials last year, and I've carried through to basically like every competition, even like every mock session or mock comp, is picking a point on the wall kind of above the crowd and the chaos of ISO to just stare at. So when you're behind the wall, especially in finals, you're in the same chair. So I like picking the same point, like a little dot on the wall, a bolt on a beam or whatever, and having that be like my center of focus. So when I come back from the chair, whether I'm really excited, like energetic from like just sending a boulder, or kind of like confused about why I didn't do a boulder, or like thinking about what I could have done better, I just immediately come back and check out that spot on the wall. And that helps me to declutter. I've used that word a lot, but I think that's the best way I can describe the feeling that I'm going for. I stare at this one bolt on the wall and just kind of smile, and a little game I would sometimes play is like just staring at it like with a straight face and like trying not to smile at all, and that would inevitably like make me just laugh to myself and be like, this is so ridiculous, like this is such a cool place to be in, and I'm so psyched to go out and try another climb. Yeah, just get in like good lighthearted mood. So going into the fourth boulder, I knew I couldn't win or I'd get on the podium, but I'd kind of let those expectations or goals or anything go, and I just wanted to climb another boulder. And at that point I was feeling like much better than I was on the first two boulders. And it's weird how much like sending a climb like helps to get you psyched again, which it shouldn't necessarily, and like all those breathing routines and everything are designed to get you into like that very focused and energetic mood no matter like what the climb is. But something about just like topping a boulder like that and having all of that energy from the crowd, like it just spikes all of your your dopamine and emotions and everything. So I was feeling back in it for the fourth boulder, and came out, and everyone behind ISO was talking about like going left hand first. There were kind of two different ways that it seemed possible, and Yoshiyuki was like, well, if I have to flash it, I'm gonna definitely put my left hand here first and then jump up. But I was like, it looks like way cooler and more fun, and like it's intended to go like right left. So I tried that the first time, and kind of similar to that first attempt on the slab. I got a bit sucked into like looking at this hold too much and just like going on a straight line rather than making space from the wall and time over the foot and really like generating in the most efficient way possible, kind of like that C arc. So I kind of knew that right away on that first attempt, and it kind of got some flusters or got the nerves out a little bit. And then the second go, you can see I swing a lot more kind of in that arc right there. So you're here and then boom, come all the way out, right, left, get that palm press, which was sweet. And then here, quick little chalk up, shout out to Kinetic. And for this move, we had all read it as like a pretty dynamic, like jump out and hit this palm. But in the moment, I just knew I could like throw my foot over. So here is like fully just trusting the instincts, and like you're not thinking, you're just doing, and that's like what a flow state is, where it's like transient hyperfrontality, where your subconscious ways of thinking kind of take over. And this last move was almost really hilarious. And I had no idea where that finish hold was. I realized I got to like that zone and was on that last hold, and I'm like, I literally have no idea like where the hold is, or like where the hole is on this next hold. So I just closed my eyes and was reaching and reaching, and finally found it. Painfully close for a while. Top down view is a cool kind of angle. Bop bop. And then here, and then I was just closed my eyes and was reaching and reaching and reaching. Finally got it. Yeah, I was buzzing after that boulder, and I was kind of buzzing for like the next couple days, and it was so cool to just know that that next level of performance was possible. And I think the biggest takeaways were like around energy conservation. And for the first World Cup, my focus was just on qualifiers. Like all my energy and like attention was put there, and it's like if I make semifinals, great, like we'll worry about that when we get there, and all I want to do is climb and be focused on the boulders in front of me. And that was amazing, and I like let loose like so much energy on all the qualifiers climbs, and honestly I felt really drained for the semifinals round. So the semifinals round was, in the first World Cup, was very similar to like my finals round at the second one, where then for the second one my focus was more like on the semifinals round. Qualifiers felt much less draining, and I still used a ton of energy. Felt a little like drained going into semifinals, but much less so than the first World Cup. And then making finals was just like so over the top exciting that I was just felt like all the neurochemicals in my brain were just depleted. And especially like you only have a couple hours between semifinals and finals, so I like went home and tried to sleep but didn't really, and was just like buzzing the whole time. You got to give your body time to recharge, and like as you experience like new things, it gets like less taxing to experience them, obviously. So hopefully going into kind of the next World Cups, I'm able to keep more in the tank for finals. In the end, it was really cool to see how all those guys, Yoshiyuki, Chan, like everyone, kind of approach a finals like that, and they're so like lighthearted and playful and ISO. Like we were grabbing all these different grips that were just in bins back in ISO and playing around, and like at the TC, like while we were warming up, like just doing street shoe boulders and like skateboarding around on my carver and just having a great time. And a lot of the time it's easier to just have that playful attitude and approach to climbing, and I think people stress themselves out more than they need to and hype things up to be like, oh, this is like a huge World Cup, like I should be really nervous, or like I need to climb my best. But you don't need to do anything. I like to frame it just as an opportunity, just another chance to do what you love, you know? So it was really cool to see the best people in the world taking that same approach and having a really lighthearted attitude. Everyone's just happy to be there, and really supportive of one another. And after every boulder we would talk about kind of like the beta and everything, and be like, oh my god, like how did I miss, like that was so silly, like everything like that. So I feel grateful to be in a sport where there's that level of collaboration and camaraderie. Thank you to everyone that was in the crowd supporting. Yeah, thank you to Rhino Skin. Go check them out for the giveaway. Again, just follow us both on Instagram, and then in the comments of this YouTube video, just let me know what solution you're most psyched to try, and then we'll pick a winner next Friday. And then you can also use that code RSS Ross for 10% off all their solutions. So yeah, that's it for now. Thank you guys for watching. Ciao ciao, and we'll see you in the next video. It's time for coffee number 2 is what it is. Feel free to go to the next video now. This is just the sound of love is what that is. The sound of productivity and passion. Any prominent reflections from the Salt Lake City World Cups?
My big ones were trying to stay like as present of mind as possible.
Yeah.
And just to kind of enjoy myself. Like where we're competing, it's a game we love to play and like what we want to do with our lives. And we should just enjoy ourselves while we do that. So I would say that was my biggest thing. And then also just trust, because we put a lot of time in the gym and like we really do our best. But if you don't trust yourself, it's never gonna be a reality. So gotta get after it.
I think that kind of goes back to what I was saying at the beginning of, like, if all of your sessions are really, really good leading up to a competition like that and you're executing at your best, it's super easy to trust that you're just gonna climb like how you normally climb. So then there's like no difference between like your practice and competition, because if you're just executing in practice and treating it like seriously while you're practicing, then you just carry that same thing into a competition, and you have to kind of develop your routines to control that like extra energy and like nerves, if that makes sense, while you're in ISO, because there's just more people and more stuff going on around you. But once you kind of account for that, then the climbing and your routine should just be the same as normal. So you can only expect to climb like how you climb in practice.
If you climb in practice the way you climb in competitions, you're just getting more experience, so your like overall is just improving. So you should do every practice like a competition and try your absolute best.
Boom.
And then recipe for success.
Chemex is not my specialty, so direct any of your talking and comments towards this guy.
And
constructive.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't want to hear any hate. I want people to tell me how to be better. In my defense, this is my vessel of choice. I've got one tattooed on my thigh, so this is my money right here.